Okay, so obviously I'm Sarah Martin. I started the year as the Communications and Engagement Officer at the Corangamite Catchment Management Authority in beautiful southwest Victoria. Halfway through, I've changed roles to another team within the CMA. I'm now in the Estuaries and Environmental Water team, but there's still some synergies with the project that I started the year with, so we were able to continue. Rennae, my mentor, Rennae Christensen, is the team leader of Communications and Engagement at the Victorian Environmental Water Holder and has a wonderful depth of experience in communications in both the public and private sector. So I think we were a great pairing. Thank you, Siwan and Jan. So why did I want to do the twinning program and my project? I had received information about the twinning program through Helen Watts, one of our general managers at the Corangamite CMA. So it was definitely a word of mouth process, which I think I will continue after this year, because it's great to hear the ins and outs of the programs and the benefits. And I was really intrigued with the idea of a project in the water industry, because I'm new to the water industry. I've come from a totally different field. So it was really a bit intimidating working with people who really seem to know a lot more about the water industry than I did. So I thought I need to really challenge myself, get out of my comfort zone and tackle a project that will benefit my organisation and also where I want to take my career. So I had a very specific project in mind from the beginning, which was to develop a communications and engagement strategy for the Corangamite CMA's Water for the Environment program. So we have three environmental entitlements in our region, the Upper Barwon, the Lower Barwon and the Moorabool. And there's really great stories to share about water for the environment in our region. It's quite a positive story, but working in comms and engagement, it was a bit of a challenge to get that story out. And I realised we were being quite reactive, not terribly strategic, and there didn't seem to be space in my day-to-day work to really tackle developing a strategy, which is why I wanted to do the twinning program. So I wanted to tell better stories about what my organisation was doing, learned how to do this in the political environment that I work in, having not worked in government much prior to working at the CMA, and learning how to be crafty about how I do this. So that's where Rennae, my mentor, came in. Is Rennae there?
Do you know what, that picture cannot hold true any more than it has right now, because I've just had to quickly run over to my European style laundry and pause the washing machine so that I could not have that in the background while presenting to all of you. So one of the reasons why I decided to join the program was because I could see that there was going to be really good synergies between Sarah's organisation and mine and the work that we were both doing. I sort of mentioned earlier in the breakout groups that we were having that, you know, I knew who Sarah was, but she was kind of that face that was across the table from me. We'd gone to, joint meetings together. We'd been in teleconferences together, but we hadn't really gotten to know each other that well. However, the chance to sort of work, as closely with a CMA on putting together, a comms and engagement strategy that would, be a part of kind of the work that the View was doing as well was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. I've got in here as well, and this is something that we presented on earlier, is because the program was sold to me and I drank the Kool-Aid. Siwan has and you probably all know this, a very awesome way of convincing you of what you should be doing and that it's the right thing to do and that the program's awesome. And she's right, of course, because we've all experienced it and the program is great. And another reason, and this is something that I touched on briefly earlier today when we were all sort of talking, is that I really enjoy sharing the knowledge that I have. I'm a middle-aged woman. I've accumulated a lot of knowledge over the years around communications and engagement, and I sort of said I have fought for a lot of the knowledge that I've gotten. I've fought really hard in my career, and the chance to sort of mentor someone and provide them with little pieces of information just to help them do their work, is something that I really enjoy doing. So back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Rennae. So what did we do in the year of COVID? Well, we had some grand plans. which we'll get to later. But what we did do, let's focus on the positive first. We had regular video calls and catch-ups, which were so valuable to speak to someone outside my organisation, but who was in the industry. And our conversations were not just about the project, as other people have alluded to. It was a whole wide range of topics. But we did do some work in amongst that. So we had quite a lot of virtual draft reviews, because our project was quite defined in developing a strategy, comms and engagement strategy. So Rennae, with her wealth of experience, was able to really provide us a great structure for me to tackle how am I going to do this. And it was a very iterative process. The technology was there fantastically. We could do it all online without having to catch up in person. And Rennae also organised a fantastic comms Q&A with some of my colleagues at North Central CMA and Goulburn Broken CMA. So thank you to Fiona Lloyd and Anthony Radford. And I've got down there Rennae. I never managed to get a photo of Rennae in our video calls. That was an oversight, but there she is right down in the corner. But she was definitely the facilitator of some great discussions. And as I mentioned in the workshop earlier, I had my twinning notebook at my side at all times, talking to Rennae, and I would pause her and say, hang on, Rennae, hang on, I've got to write that down. That was gold, and write down exactly what she said word for word. So I would remember it and be able to refer back to it. So I've got down here that Rennae is not just one gold nugget, but many. So what was the gold nugget of the project for me was we didn't get to a finished draft. It's still in work in progress, but through the iterations that we went through, I think we really defined the objectives quite clearly, because I really wanted this to be in discussions within Estuary's environmental water team who actually run the program, is that this has to be a living document. It has to be practical, not just a strategy that we're going to pop in the virtual shelf and sort of just continue with what we were doing before. So to me, I think what I really got out of my time with Rennae was focusing on what are the objectives of the strategy. And this is what we came up with, is that a successful comms and engagement strategy for e-water will improve relationships with the key stakeholders, which we divided into 4 groups. So we've got the passionate voices, which is our community groups, our traditional owners, the decision makers and investors, which is our agency and departmental stakeholders, the quiet majority, so those people who might not really know about environmental water, but could become interested if we can entice them. And then also, because I wanted this to be a document that would be used, our internal champions within the CCMA staff and management. So even though we didn't get the project finished, I'm really much more confident now that I have a structure I can go forward with to complete that and put it into practice at my organisation. Back to you, Rennae.
So some of the other things of what we did and what we got to do was, and this was part of our initial agreement that we drew up to, was to get to know each other a little bit better and get to know each other's organisation quite well. And I think that, you know, I can walk away now having a much better understanding of what Sarah was working in her previous role as communications coordinator at Corangamite CMA, and what she was also trying to achieve with her comms and engagement plan. We had that one catch up in person together in Warrnambool, which was awesome. But we've had many sort of catch ups afterwards, whether or not they were fortnightly or monthly catch ups, but they were really quite consistent. And that's been quite a strong theme, I think, with all the mentors and mentees, that even during this lockdown period that we've all been going through, we've all been each other's, consistent person outside of our family or outside of our work that we've been catching up with and talking to. I actually learned quite a bit around the systems that Sarah's working in as well, and also the communities that she's, trying to engage with. And it's really quite understanding. It was really quite great to understand, the ease of some of the communication that she can do, but also the difficulties that she has, especially when, our work at the View does cross over with the Corangamite CMAs as well. Back to you.
So we do have to touch slightly on the negative. We weren't ever able to meet face-to-face after Warrnambool, which is a real shame, because I think we developed a very quick connection in Warrnambool, and we had grand plans for me going to Melbourne, Rennae coming down to Corangamite, having a walk and talk beside the beautiful rivers down here. But none of that happened. But I think with the fantastic news of the last couple of days, I'm feeling optimistic and hopeful again that we can do that before Christmas.
So yeah, further touching on what we didn't do, as you know, Sarah mentioned, we had these grand plans that Sarah was going to come and spend the day in the office at the View. So that's the top picture there. And then I also said to her, we have to go to the local Thai place because it's really, really good. So we didn't get to go to Los Angeles Thai. And, you know, there was, you know, huge plans of going for these wonderful walks and seeing the waterways. And Sarah had it really well mapped out as well on where we were going to stay and, you know, how we could travel to see as much as we possibly could. But unfortunately, that didn't quite happen due to that pesky pandemic we've all been experiencing.
But I still learned a lot, and some of the things that I didn't come into the program knowing I was going to learn. I've always liked to consider myself quite an independent, capable person, but some of the challenges of COVID really threw me. And I think you know, I haven't changed overnight, but I think I've learned a bit about, you know, how good it is to ask for help when you need it, and also to be realistic about what can be achieved with the time and resources you have. It took me a while to let go of the grand plans I had for the strategy, and it's still going to be a great project when it's finished, but I think I had to be more realistic. And, you know, never went into quarantine, but lockdown. You know, I like my time at home, but I have my limits, and, you know, having Rennae there to talk to was a great comfort, someone outside my family and work life. So. And some fun facts about Rennae. She's introduced me to drum and bass, which I didn't even know what that was. She has a house full of elves, which I only twigged when I was doing this presentation. Liam, Lilith and Luna. So that rolls off the tongue nicely. But more seriously, she's been a wonderful listener over the last 8-9 months, however long it's been. And she has a great sense of humour and someone I can hope to call a friend after this program.
So I, like everyone else, couldn't help put in a bit of a meme of the pandemic as well. So and I love this one here about when the Corona kids grow up, when someone honks for them to move, they're going to be like, oh my God, it's birthday, is it? Because we were doing a lot of that honking of birthdays for kids, doing the drive-bys. Other things that I've kind of learned is that I have a lot more information in my head than I originally thought I did. And that goes back to Sarah sort of saying, you know, I've got to write down this nugget of gold. And I'm like, oh yeah, it really is, isn't it? Actually, yeah, that's a good one to keep in mind for later on. So it was a learning experience for myself personally as well. Another thing that came out of it is that, you know, I really enjoy mentoring. I've really enjoyed the catching up that we've been doing. I've been enjoying sharing the knowledge, and that being, you know, vice versa as well. And I like sort of, you know, helping someone on their career path too. Communicating water for the environment is really, really complicated. From wherever you're sitting, it's a complicated space to try and educate the community on, to gain buy-in with the community. And, you know, it's something that I really want to continue to work through as well. I've also learned that everyone that works in this space that I have, you know, came across and had a touch point with, including in this mentoring program as well. So everyone is so passionate about what they do. I've been really quite lucky that within my 5Ks, I've had the beautiful bay that you can see there in the image, and I can see the city. About a 10-minute walk from my house. So I'm pretty lucky that I live in a really beautiful part of the world. And during this whole experience as well, I found that I'm really resilient. I've managed to keep my sense of humor through, you know, some really tricky times. And I think that, you know, when times are tough, you really need to hold that sense of humor as well. So in finishing, more fun facts. So 3 fun facts about Sarah. This is really funny. So whenever anyone sort of says to me, I'm like, I'm going up to Queensland to see my parents. And they say, oh, where are you going? I say, oh, honestly, you will not know where it is. It's this weird little town, kind of halfway between Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. And the minute I told Sarah where it was, she was like, oh, I grew up like a couple of suburbs over from there. And I was like, no way. So that was really quite a fun fact to find out. Luna, the kitten that you have seen, was she's a new addition to our family at I think a week or two after we started this mentoring program. And Sarah and I were having a conversation walking back from the restaurant on the first night that we were in Warrnambool. And I said, I'm getting a kitten for my daughter. I just hope that she doesn't name her Fluffy or Kitty or something like that. And Sarah says, oh, I had a kitten called Fluffy when I was little. That was another one. And Sarah is a really smart cookie. So not only does she have 1 degree, she has a couple of degrees. So she has, done graphic design. She is, she's done environmental science, and is also, very passionate about what she's doing. So I'm wishing her all the well. And I do, I think that we will continue to catch up because we've gotten to know each other very well on a personal level as well.
So we don't have an end slide, but that's it. That's all, folks. That's it.